I'm Richard Brooks, and today I'm going to be talking with Ralph Derdall. Ralph is a uncle of my wife Derdall, and I'm going to be talking to Ralph about an event that took place in his life many years ago that is about Lake Diefenbaker and some of the events that led up to it. Recently, Ralph completed writing his autobiography, which he has compiled from a personal diary, which he's kept faithfully ever since January the 1st, 1943. In the autobiography, which Derdall and I were reading, we came across an event that we thought others might be interested in knowing about. That event occurred back in 1953 and involved a trip to Ottawa. Ralph was part of a delegation that was selected to go to Ottawa and present the idea of building a dam across the South Saskatchewan River. We're going to talk to him today about that particular event and some of the details that we think you might be interested in knowing about. There were 50 members in the delegation that went to Ottawa, and they came from a wide area, farmers and non-farmers, to present this idea of a dam on the South Saskatchewan River. I want to thank you for doing this. First of all, Ralph, I want to thank you for doing this today and coming down here to the Gardner Dam Pavilion. I think an appropriate setting for what we're going to be talking about. As was mentioned in the interview, you were part of a delegation, 50 people in all, that went to Ottawa from this area and represented the idea of building a dam in the South Saskatchewan. What year did you go down there?
We went down May the 3rd, 1953. We left from our train station here in Ottawa and went down to Moose Jaw, where we picked up the rest of the delegates, and then we carried on from there to Ottawa.
What do you remember anything about the selection of delegates? Like, do you remember how you were selected to be part of it?
I guess one of the reasons why they selected me as one of the delegates for the SRDA, that's Saskatchewan River Development Association, was because I had a quarter section of land up in the French Flats where I had irrigation. So I'd had a little bit of experience with irrigating. So I think this is why they selected me as one of the delegates. The other delegates was Dr. W.B. Tufson. He was the president of the association.
Oh, yeah.
He certainly was there. Yeah. And Ray Riley was the hotel owner. And Chris Dahl was the reeve of the Rudy municipality. And and then there's J.C. Davison. He was a retired railroader. And then there were a lot of farmers and so on.
Yeah.
Who went on this delegation.
So you went down to Moose Jaw, got on the train. What kind of things happened on the train that you can remember? Because what would the trip be? 2, 3 days, 4 days?
Well, we left on the 2nd, I think it was, of May. We went all day, all night. We spent the whole day on the train going through Ontario.
Yeah.
And then we got into Ottawa, I think it was May the 3rd, 8 o'clock in the morning. We got checked into the Chateau Laurier, I believe it was. And we met with the cabinet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Parliament buildings.
Yeah. And now, with respect to the time on the train there, I know from reading your autobiography that you were approached by the delegation. What did they ask you to do?
Well, there were other people that gave talks at the cabinet too, but the reason why they asked me was because I'd had an experience with the irrigating.
Oh yeah, I see. And so did they, you must have prepared beforehand then for what you were going to say to the...
No, I made up the speech on the train as we were traveling through Ontario.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And then did you know that you were going to be the one asked to deliver this speech to the Prime Minister?
No, I didn't know that until we were on the train.
Oh, my word.
So it was kind of a surprise, actually.
Were you nervous?
No.
No? See, that's amazing because there's so few of us that ever get to speak directly to a Prime Minister. How much of his time did you actually have?
Well, I think we were at the cabinet meeting there probably half an hour. And Dr. Tufts, of course, was a very eloquent speaker, and he gave a really nice presentation. But I'll never forget the fatherly look on the Prime Minister of Saint Laurent. He was a nice old gentleman, and I call it a fatherly look.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same kind of look we got from C.D. Howe looking under his bushy eyebrows looking at us, but I think that he was quite, I think he concurred with what we were trying to put forth.
So you got the feeling that he supported the idea?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. How many people from his cabinet? Do you remember how many were there?
No, it wasn't the entire cabinet, but there were quite a few from the cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few. Quite a few.
So quite an opportunity to present an idea to the most powerful leader of the land about building of a dam on the South Saskatchewan, 1953.
Yeah.
And now, if 1953 is when you were down there, how long did it take for the governments, both provincial and federal, to come together and actually sign an agreement that, yes, this is what we're going to do?
Well, I don't know how long it took for them to sign the agreements, but they started the construction in 1959, and they figured it was going to take 10 years to build, but they did it in 8 years.
Yeah.
And I think the grand opening, I have it in my documentary there, the grand opening of the dam, I think was 1968, I think.
1967.
1967,
Yeah.
Something like that. It was 2 years
Yeah.
before we did.
And the only reason I remember that is because in 1992, Derdall and I traveled up from Elbow on our houseboat and docked over here just across from the pavilion and attended a 25th anniversary of the building of the Gardner Dam, and that was in 1992. So I know it was 1967 that they actually finished that. Of course, do you realize that what you did there, going to Ottawa, getting that idea out there, showing that people around here supported it, do you realize that that provided me with some summer employment as a university student?
Oh, really?
Yes. In 1964, I worked out here on the dam just for 2 days, actually, for the construction firm. And then both my brother and myself went to work in the PFRA lab over here, doing soil testing and that type of thing. So I got a little bit of my university paid for because you guys were willing to go down there and do that presentation.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And I can remember that my dad was very interested in what was going on, and he died in 1964. But he was able to make many trips down here to watch them build this dam. He was quite excited about it, but he didn't get to be around long enough to see the grand opening, unfortunately.
Yeah. But he could see the potential.
Oh, he saw what was coming.
Yeah. So did he get down to see the start? I know they had a ceremony at the beginning of construction.
Oh, I don't know whether he did that.
Yeah.
I couldn't say.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you can remember about that whole event, the 1953 event, that you would want to share with people?
It was a very interesting ride going down there. Of course, we had all these people that were on this delegation, and of course there was constant visiting on on the train
Yeah.
all the way down there.
I'll bet.
Some people didn't have enough sense to go to bed, and other people
Yeah.
didn't have enough sense to stay in bed in the morning, so they had short nights.
Yeah.
And to arrive in Ottawa at 8 o'clock in the morning and then get checked into the hotel and then get up to the Parliament buildings and stuff, it was a pretty long day.
Yeah. Yeah. And you stayed at the Chateau Laurier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty nice hotel.
Nice hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine there are a lot of memories of that trip, and I really want to thank you for sharing your knowledge of what took place back there, and for keeping that diary, because I know from your autobiography and also from little peeks at your diary that apart from that daily personal record from January the 1st, 1943, right on through, a lot of this may have been forgotten. So thanks again, Ralph, and we'll look forward to seeing this whole thing on the screen when we get a chance to view it. Okay? All right, thanks.
Thank you.